My son pounded on my door at 2 in the morning, screaming that a man was coming to kill him. I stood on the other side and didn't move. Through the glass, I could see him. Split lip, one eye swelling shut, no jacket, 40 degrees out, shaking so hard he could barely stand up straight. Most fathers open that door in a heartbeat. I stood there with my hand on the deadbolt and didn't turn it, because I'd opened it before. Then I made my choice. I unlocked it, pulled Nate in by his shirt, and walked him back to my bedroom, where I got the shotgun out of the closet one-handed, while holding onto him with the other. Headlights swung into my driveway before I made it back to the front room. Here's why I hesitated. 3 years ago, Nate started running with a man named Dolan. Nate was 24. Dolan was 35, with a way of talking that raised the hair on my arms the first time I met him. Inside a month, Nate asked me for $4,000 for a work truck he swore was already lined up. I said no. He told me I'd never believed in him a day in his life. A week later, I came back from the feed store and found them in my shop with the cabinet open, the one where I keep my father's tools. Hand planes, a star at level, things he used for 40 years. I asked what they were doing. Dolan didn't even blink. He said the old man was dead, and it was all just sitting there rusting. I put him out of my shop by his collar. Nate screamed from the driveway that Grandpa would have helped him, that Grandpa actually loved him, that I'd never been half the man his grandfather was. Dolan flattened my mailbox with his truck on the way out. We didn't speak for 6 months. Then one night my phone rang from a number I didn't know, and it was Nate crying so hard I could barely understand him. He said Dolan had him locked in a shed off County Road 12 and to please hurry. I drove 70 the whole way with my hazards on. I beat on that door yelling his name. Dolan opened it looking bored, and I shoved past into the kitchen. Nate was at the table eating cereal. He looked up at me the way you look up when somebody walks in front of the television. Dolan got me from behind before I turned all the way around. Arm across my throat, knife under my jaw, telling me to hand over the wallet and the keys and be smart about it. I gave him all of it. Wallet, truck keys, and my father's pocket knife out of my front pocket. The whole time, my son sat at that table and watched with no expression at all. They put me out in the yard. The sheriff took a report and said they'd be in touch. Nothing ever came of it. I hadn't heard a word from either of them in 22 months, so that's why I stood at my own door and didn't open it. Boots came up the porch steps. A fist hit the door hard enough to move it in the frame. Nate, open the door. Nate whispered that he was sorry about before, that this time it was real. I could see the swelling on his face, but I'd heard him cry on the phone before too. Dolan started in through the wood, friendly, almost laughing. He said the boy was playing me, said I'd already fallen for it once. Then the door took a boot and the frame cracked and the second kick put it open, and Dolan came through with a piece of pipe up over his shoulder. I fired once. It caught him low in the leg and put him on the floor. The pipe rolled across the boards and I kept the barrel on him while he screamed. Nate went down on his knees beside me saying he was sorry over and over. I didn't hug him. I didn't help him up off the floor. I told him to explain and to do it now. He said Dolan had made him do it, that if he didn't help rob me, it'd be him getting hurt instead. He'd been too ashamed to call afterward. Tonight he'd finally told Dolan he was done, and Dolan had gone at him and said he'd bury us both. Dolan hollered that he was lying, that Nate had wanted the money as bad as he did. Nate pulled out his phone with both hands shaking and dialed it himself. He told the dispatcher there'd been a break-in, a man had been shot, and that he needed to confess to something he did 3 years ago. Deputies were in my yard in 9 minutes. Nate gave them all of it standing right there in my living room. The tools, the setup, the shed that never existed, everything. Afterward, we sat on my couch in the quiet, and he said he knew I'd never forgive him. I told him he's my son, so the forgiving was already done. Trusting him again was going to take a while. He said he had nothing but time. I still haven't gotten around to fixing that door.